Hello, guys and gals, me Mudahar. Ooh, you might be like, whoa, in the dark today. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't sat in the dark for a long time, but today's topic is way darker than usual. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about something on YouTube that's just got to stop, okay? And we're talking about the family channels on the platform. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, family channels have been existing on YouTube for quite a long time. In fact, some of the oldest channels that you probably have heard of, like the Shade, for instance. What, are we really bleeping that word? Dude, they titled the channel that. It's a family-friendly... Whatever, I don't even want to hear it, okay? Anyways, the Shay Beep channel, so to speak, is a channel that has 4.7 million subscribers, and it was run by one YouTuber known as Shay Carl way back in the day. And if you don't remember that name, don't worry, it was probably well past beyond some people's time. But I know this name, and obviously I know this channel. When I first started YouTube about a year or two before, this channel was constantly on recommendeds. I would see this person and their entire family plastered day after day on the internet for the world to see. Now, at the time, I never consumed the content and I never really watched and got into it, but it did kind of irk me at the time that people were just uploading what should be personal elements of their life onto the internet. See, with family channels, if you're a child, there is no separation of church and state. Your life, no matter how you want it or not, is ultimately posted for the world to basically see. And of course, it doesn't just transcend to specific family channels, usually even gaming channels, you know, people who eventually have children. Put them into videos. And I'm not here to say that you can't or whatever have your children in videos or whatnot, but usually I think it's a little bit weird. Some people who really don't understand what it is to be on the internet probably should have a bit more of a say, in my personal opinion. The Ace family is quite possibly one of the most popular families on YouTube. In fact, I don't even think it's much of a family anymore. Last I checked, these people were getting a divorce. Basically, for anybody that wasn't in the loop, these people would also upload their entire lives for the world to consume. However, the Ace family had the spending habits of Scarface, to be honest with you, without the Scarface level of money. We are talking about people that bought some of the fanciest vehicles, apparently had a $10 million mansion, which from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, was actually two big mansions, but that they combined together. And of course, the house apparently was purchased on investment loans. Actually, my podcast co-host, Oompaville, has a pretty great video covering that specific topic. This is quite possibly a family run by the most compulsive, stupid, financially brain-dead individuals that you could find. And apparently it even seems like their $10 million mansion appears to even have gone into foreclosure. And yeah, you can imagine that obviously it's gonna happen. Now, of course, this is probably the lesser egregious families in comparison to some of the darker stuff we're gonna be talking about today. But obviously, if you look around with this kind of channel, one thing to understand is these people obviously have a bit of a trend. Usually when the views are down and you gotta come up with something spicy, what do you do as a family channel? You fuck! You make sure that one of you gets pregnant, okay? And at that moment in time, a whole new slew of content begins. Because usually you can kind of timeline the life here. Mommy and daughter surprise daddy with a pregnancy announcement. Whoa, 23 million! And of course, about a year later, preparing for a home water birth. Could you imagine? Could you just imagine as a child, your birth is pretty much uploaded for 24 million people to watch? You don't even get a say in that. You're birthing. The moment you are brought into this world is viewed by is number one on trending. Break a prank on girlfriend. Gone wrong. Yeah, apparently they're also divorced, so I mean, like, you know, I guess you could say it really went wrong. She's finally here. Everyone meet our new princess. Now, hold on a minute. Was there a... Oh, you prepped for the home water birth, but it seems like you actually had it in the hospital. I always love when it has the official Ace family labor and delivery. And right next to the music video. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's just no hope for these channels. Quite possibly one of the worst types of channels that I ended up finding too was this one right here. And I'm going to play a clip for you, and you've probably already seen this, but it just hurts me to witness. Let's listen to this one.
And be part of our family. So if you could pray for us, we appreciate it. I love you guys. Bye. Come here. Come closer for the video. Come closer. Come closer. Come closer. Put your head right here. Come closer. Closer. Down. Put your head down here. Act like you're crying. Really quick.
I am crying.
Go like this.
No, Mom, I'm actually seriously crying.
No, I know, but go like this for the video. Go like this. Put one hand up. Go like this. No, go like this.
Astaghfirullah. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that wasn't like AI. That wasn't any joke here. Yes, I had to blur out the child because unlike these family channels, I'm going to at least try to give a shit about the kids over here compared to their actual flesh and blood parents. Yes, the child is actually crying. They're actually going through an emotional moment, as some children do. And of course, the mom over here is trying to get a thumbnail. Now, obviously, you know what I'm talking about. She wants the kid to be in here. She's gonna cry a little bit. The thumbnail looks wild. They're gonna title it something crazy like, it seemed leukemia scare, something crazy for like all the audience to click into. You know what I mean? But obviously, here's the thing: if your kid is fucking crying, maybe turn off the content brain, the little tapeworm that exists in your brain, in the brain matter, eating away at the gray matter, and probably, tend to your child. But obviously, this mom doesn't really give a shit. And the thing is, the only reason we know about this clip is she was intelligent enough, thankfully, to leave this unedited portion of the video in, that she could dig the thumbnail out of. Obviously, we managed to see, the monster behind the curtain, and of course, this is still light in what is the final story that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So bear with me. Now, where it gets really wild is the clickbaiting that I find when it comes to this situation too. Now, this is a video by a channel known as the Lebrandt Fam. Now, this is a quite popular channel, quite popular family channel. We're talking 13 million subscribers. And this is a 42-minute documentary that covers the case of 3 children that have actually been suffering from childhood cancer. Now, on the surface, this wouldn't necessarily be anything wild, but the actual community over here found that it seems that they were actually clickbaiting their own children in comparison to the 3 that they were covering. So for instance, right here, a great resource for this is a Reddit post on their Snark subreddit. A Snark subreddit is basically a subreddit that's filled with all the haters for your channels, okay? The most critical types. And of course, what they showed is the original thumbnail for the video. The original thumbnail said, "She got diagnosed with cancer." Dog, they were premiering this, which burns me even harder. So you got your kids in the thumbnail, you say she got diagnosed with cancer, and 627 losers are sitting in here wondering, oh my God, which one got hit with cancer? Holy shit, I'm here begging the parents got fucking cancer. That's messed up. The kids would be the ones suffering the most if the parents. Whatever, I stand by it, okay? These people are scumbags. But obviously they changed the thumbnail later because even they couldn't handle the legitimate backlash. And they changed it to, the kids, the actual children they were covering in the hospital wards. As they should have. Please report this video for clickbait on YouTube. Yeah, that's not gonna work, but okay. Do not sign the Change.org petition. Change.org is a for-profit company. All right, I guess we can't even sign a petition for crying out loud. So obviously they gave a little recap into this. We got an intro to Cole right after. He created a YouTube channel 2 days after his 16th birthday in 2012. He intros the family and states he and Sav are perfect examples of right place, right time. I won't disagree with him. The Lebrandt fam is something this world did not need. The perfect Lebrandt image is juxtaposed with their bad days. Cole references the vlog about his anxiety from the past February. You might remember that Cole is famous for posting this tweet, which he downplayed mental health and suggested if you eat your veggies and pray, you shouldn't feel such things. Oh yeah, the Lebrandt fam is really, really godly, okay? So they got a little bit of that going for us. Cole was convinced Posey had cancer. I assume Posey is one of their children. Due to leg pain and bruises, Sav states she carried the weight of his feelings and the anxiety overtook his ability to actually be a parent. So at this point, a YouTube ad pops up because this is a monetized video. Bro, they literally clickbaited their children in a cancer video. You think the ads are the problem? The ads are actually the least egregious part of this. So, according to the Snark here, Cole scoured Instagram in order to find kids to exploit. This is the catalyst for this video. Cole claims he wants to give these people a bigger platform to tell their stories on, but what he's missing is that he used his own family for clickbait, downplayed mental health, and is profiting off of this act of charity. You know, I'm gonna say it. If he was just covering children with cancer and giving them like a little bit of a highlight or a little bit of like, if they had just shown this situation and basically raised awareness, then I don't really think there would be that much of an issue. But obviously, the way that they originally showed it, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to be very questionable of this entire situation. But obviously, it's another family channel that uploads basically every single thing from their entire children's life to the internet. You know, like a lot of children who are part of YouTube because of their parents, whether it be in family channels, whether it be through gaming, whether it be through, you know, things like toy reviews, for instance, I really wish there were more protections in place for these children. Much like things like the California Child Actors Bill, also known as the Cougan Act or the Cougan Bill, there have been similar bills that have popped up recently in states like Illinois, where children who are basically part of social media without their basic consent are at least given some protections or at least offered something. This state, for anybody to understand, was originally passed in '39 by California in response to Jackie Cougan, who earned millions of dollars as a successful child actor, only to discover when she was an adult that her mom and stepfather had spent almost all of the money. Since then, it's been revised a few times, but you get the idea, right? It was centered around if children are earning large stacks of cash, their parents aren't going to be the ones that exclusively profit off of it and basically leave them with nothing once they reach adulthood. And obviously, I imagine that most parents, at least the decent ones, at least if they're using their children in content, at least set some of that money aside, because ultimately it was made off of the backs of these children. And obviously, even in the film and television industry, when you hire minors or you're working with them, the ethical guidelines change so dramatically. And it's kind of weird to see that juxtaposition between what is corporate filmography, what is the world of big business, and what is social media influence. At the end of the day, YouTube channels are big business. And I really wish that these children who are unfortunately unwilling participants at least get some protections out of it. But of course, I'm only looking at this from the money and the exposure angle. What happens when children go through actual serious abusive situations? Well, we're going to touch upon this slightly, and we're going to start with one of the most famous situations imaginable. Now, you might remember years ago there was a channel known as Daddy05. Since now, it's actually been terminated, but this was a channel like literally way back, I would say in the year 2015, 2017. There were prank channels that were uploaded by the actual, parents. Daddy05, who would be known as Michael Martin, and obviously Mommy05, who would, be Heather Martin. Both parents would be in this situation. The dad basically was, in one case, it appeared, abusing one of the children. And not just, verbally, but it got to the point where it was physically bad too. Now, the only remaining clip that I saw here was one uploaded by Philip DeFranco, and obviously I'm not going to show anything, but he threw one of the children into a shelf, which physically is actually assaulting this child. No matter how you want to cut it. Throwing a child at a wall where you physically can possibly lead them to an injury is not good. That shouldn't be me saying it. That should just be generally accepted. Now, obviously, the community looked at this, and when they started looking through more and more videos, it became readily apparent that this scumbag wasn't necessarily here to care for his children, but look at each of them, and specifically the pain of one as a paycheck. Now, obviously, this channel got terminated by YouTube because clearly it wasn't following YouTube's TOS very well. For instance, according to YouTube right now, if you're posting anything with harmful or dangerous acts involving minors, such as stunts, challenges, dares, or pranks in this case, that is content that is not going to be allowed on YouTube. It can be taken down. But family channels are such a big part of YouTube that honestly, I feel like we're looking mostly at a gray area at this point. It's not as if YouTube can outright remove them. The amount of family channels that literally exist is just asinine. Now, honestly, the channels that I've talked about have been the tip of the iceberg. There's so many family channels that I feel like we're looking at mostly a gray area of the industry of YouTube. You know, if you look through the entire cracks, you'll find way more family channels, some of them far under the radar, but still relatively popular, that, you know, maybe are getting away with things that they probably shouldn't be. It's such a big market, and so many people consume this kind of content that getting rid of it just isn't going to happen. It might have been the first most popular type of content on this platform, and it still remains a very popular bit. Now, obviously, Daddy05 didn't ever go away. He's actually still available as the Martin family. Yes, we are the Daddy05 kids, but we aren't kids anymore. We are now known as the Martin family, okay? This channel is still owned by our Nana. The content is edited and uploaded by us, the Martin sons. So the 3 kids that still remain, because according to the situation, 2 of the children out of the 5 were actually taken away. And of course, our parents were wrongfully accused of things they did not do, but made the best choices they could for all of us at the time. Our parents have turned over all the rights of our website and our Daddy05, Family05 archives to us. Of course, our parents are in our videos. They are our parents. And they have given us permission to use any footage they record as we see fit. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, damn, motherfucker, this sounds like ban evasion. Obviously, their channel isn't doing numbers like it used to, but obviously, you can still see that old Martin is still very much active on the entire internet. And of course, he's still vlogging away as if nothing had happened. And unfortunately, no matter what, no matter how canceled you are, there will still be people that support you. Obviously, not the same level of support that they once got, but unfortunately, these scumbags still have some actual dedicated fans. Makes no sense to me. And at one point, they were actually trying to have a subscription service to their website too. Again, if you look at their website, you live and you learn. We have learned. If you don't actually know us, your negative opinion does not matter. Yeah, well, you don't matter to me either, but it is what it is. There was one situation where even a family channel belonging to Micah Stauffer, for instance, actually ended up giving up a adopted child because it got a little bit too tough. They ended up having to rehome this child because, again, it got way too tough for them. Again, imagine giving a child a home and then giving them up because you as a parent just feel that you're unfit. Why even open that up to begin with? And why were they unfit? What happened? So the whole story and gist behind this is a family YouTuber known as Micah Stauffer adopted a child they called Huxley Stauffer. And Huxley was somebody that apparently, according to according to their mention, had a stroke in utero, level 3 autism, and sensory processing disorder. So Huxley was in the family, and she made a whole bunch of monetized videos talking about the adoption process in bringing this child over. Unfortunately for this child who, had a family, adopted into one family, and then suddenly rehomed once the dumbass parents realized, man, maybe this is harder than we thought. Again, basically bringing a child in for the sake of content and then not even following up on the bare minimum of taking care of this child is insanity when you think about it. But again, it's par for the course for every single family channel here. So enter the darkest part of YouTube family channels, and one that is known as the Ruby Frankie case or the 8 Passengers case. Now, 8 Passengers is a channel that I guess you could say involved Jody and Ruby, for instance. Now, Ruby Frankie and this woman, her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, were actually 2 individuals that were involved in, I guess you could say, being momfluencers and people that would be life educators, for instance, right? One of the actual, businesses that belonged to Jody, from my understanding, was Connexion Coaching, where they learned to successfully navigate life. They were a personal coach. Again, basically, if you have way too much money to spend and you need some life fucking guidance, then I guess you hire these people. And of course, these were individuals that were momfluencers, at least specifically Ruby Frankie. They were supposed to be educators. They were supposed to be teaching you about being mothers, I guess you could say. So what had happened was back in August 2023, a neighbor in the area had actually reported that they had found a child that had allegedly escaped from Frankie's home. One of her sons that was malnourished, wounded, and of course they had duct tape around their ankles and wrists. So it was a really, really scary situation, something straight out of what you would say a very horrific situation, something out of a horror situation, a horror movie, so to speak. And what had happened over here was, obviously, when people started to look into Frankie's actual parenting that was on her channel, and there's compilation videos of this, it appeared that maybe there could be situations where things were more abusive than they were let on. This was a situation where YouTubers and the community had started compiling footage from her YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, and basically looking that her and allegedly her husband, Kevin, were effectively not treating their children in the right possible ways. One of the most popular videos that exists on this topic is like 8 Passengers Worst Moments Part 1. The fact that there are multiple parts to this horror is just baffling to me. It is beyond insane that this even has to be a thing. Now, since that horrific incident, what happened? Her channel actually did get terminated even before this whole situation, basically blew up. Just because YouTube, obviously, any social media platform is going to step in when things get that freaked out. Now, in the last day or two, what has happened is she has been sentenced to prison for this entire situation, which is about the best news that I could have heard. But unfortunately, because of how the law is basically processed, this is up to 60 years in prison. Now, up to 60 is very important. From what it seems, she could honestly be going to prison for as little as 4 years, up to straight up 60 years, which is insanity to me, the fact that the range is there. What she did to her children should warrant, in my opinion, a straight-up life sentence at that point. If you ruin somebody else's life like this, in such a dramatic way, in such a fucked up way, you should be going to the actual prison system till the end of goddamn time. She is, without a doubt, an incredibly evil person, and I have no sympathy towards her. So since then, there's been a plea agreement that's come out between the state of Utah and Ruby Frankie. And of course, there are 4 charges that are being pled to in this situation. And one of the things that ended up coming out to was obviously her sentencing. And according to the sentencing, according to these plea agreements and everything that I've been reading, it seems that she will have 4 separate sentences between 1 to 15 years. And that's where the 4 to 60 range comes out of. The other reality of it is, because this is actually calculated in Utah, the women in this situation, and it's not just, Ruby, it's also the other partner from my understanding, they have to go and suffer no more than like 30 years in these prisons. Again, I think 60 was too little. The fact that that might be whittled down to 30 is just insulting. And of course, the law they're referring to is from the Utah State Legislature, where they talk about concurrent or consecutive sentences and the specific limitations of them. So for instance, in Section 6, if a court imposes consecutive sentences, the aggregate maximum of all sentences imposed may not exceed 30 years imprisonment, except as provided under subsection 6. So again, it really is up to how the state wants to process this, but ultimately these kind of scumbags need to be sent to an actual jail cell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been kind of going off long enough with this situation. To be honest, this whole entire thing just disturbs me. Family channels, I have always been disturbed by, but I've never really understood the sheer severity of how many controversies the entire genre has had in just the last few years. Look, I don't think family channels should be a thing on the platform. I really do think in a perfect world, we wouldn't be putting children up in front of a camera before they understand the true gravitas of that situation. Just imagine being a child and your parents have found an absolute money farm just by you. So instead of you having a normal childhood and you living life normally, enjoying yourself, enjoying the privacy, enjoying your family in your own personal environment, you are now put up as a content factory. The only reason your siblings exist is for hitting peaks and valleys on YouTube. That's about it. And that, when you really process it, is about the most fucked up thing to imagine. Now, in some cases, when you're a child that is unfortunately put into a situation where your father or your mother might be using you for content in a very, very, very negative way by pranking you or straight up abusing you, then you get into a situation where, my God, I hope as a child you find some way out of it, you navigate your way through away from it, and you get the help that you deserve. Because honestly, the amount of therapy some of these children will be needing is quite understated. But yeah, as somebody that looks at this from afar, it is one of the most unethical types of content factories to make. I would say that even people that I've watched in the past, like J Station for instance, have treated children with far more ethics than some of these family channels ever have. And I'm kind of tired of this fucking weird positivity that they kind of like spew, this fake positivity, where they kind of sit there and say, oh, we're just a howdy-doody family. Look, at the end of the day, if you want to have a family, have a family. But don't turn it into a content factory and put unwitting lives, you know, up for consumption. At the end of the day, your kids should have a say. They should consent to this when they truly understand the situation. You as a parent shouldn't really have the right to just blast your children up for the internet for people to consume. It's fucking weird, and honestly, I wish YouTube kind of put a stop to it. In some cases, it can be harmless, but in a lot of cases, it's just downright just controversial, and in some cases, it can really leave these children truly, truly scarred. That being said, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.